not wanting to play, and then we're going to play, and then we're going to, and then we're going to retire. And the timing, that was all we worked out together. When she was sure she wasn't going to play anymore, frankly, she did not want to have any sort of ceremony. She didn't want to do that. And, we just kind of said, she didn't really have a say in it. And we're doing this. I told her, I said, but she gets it. It's for the fans, and certainly for her, but I wanted her to, to have that moment with her fans and have absolutely no regrets about that. And, but it was, that all that stuff was, draining to go through, meaning that, someone so special and so meaningful to so many. I mean, that was, it was a season unlike any other, and it had nothing to do with wins and losses. And so, but that it's coming, I think they say that, the sun sets in paradise. So like, it's coming, and, we have, other players, it happens. But it was my first, really as a head coach, of coaching somewhere, 8 years, and having that player, to have such meaningful times. That's my first time of actually going through that. So, I learned a lot, and, it just, I think at the end of the day, like I said, you do the best you can with the information that you have. I think we came out of it okay.
I thought it was great. And the cool thing is fans didn't always get to see Lindsay's true personality, and in the course of those press conferences and the event after the game, people got to see her true personality, and everybody should be treated that way, because she's not just a really nice person and good-hearted, and she's not just on the right side of history when it comes to social justice. She's also a lot of fun.
She is, yeah, and that's what I really enjoyed, and just to see her, because she's not guarded when she's with us, right? It's a different story when you're in front of media and whatever, and it just. For everyone to kind of get to see that side of her that we always talk about, to share herself that way. I think it was good for her. One of the cool moments was I attended a Dunkers meeting, a group that gets together, and they have speakers come in and they talk, and Lindsay had to present for like 45 minutes. And I thought, I've done the Dunkers thing before, and so I have.
And that's hard, by the way. If you've never had to get up in front of a group of people and talk
for 45 minutes,
hard.
It doesn't seem for very long, But I had this moment where I thought, how's this going to go for her? Like, what? She was unbelievable. Yeah. She was so good, and she's just really kind of, like she knows exactly who she is. She knows what she wants, and it was just really cool to see. And I mean, obviously, I'm not her parent, but as a mentor, it's all that transition and how she handled it all with such grace. It's just stuff that makes you really, really proud.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the WNBA next. Girls' participation in sports and fitness is exploding, but the toys they play with and the books they read don't represent that. Did you know in the U.S., less than 1% of children's picture books published annually have a female character who is physically active? Shelly being the Sports Queen book series is changing that one book at a time, and it also makes the perfect holiday gift for the child in your life. Follow along in each book as Shelly, being the Sports Queen, learns a new sport. It's not easy for her, but she perseveres, and to reward herself at the end of each story, she makes a new sports charm for her crown. She is proud of what she's accomplished. Then use the tips at the end of each book to learn how to shoot a basketball or ice skate yourself. Meet her best friend Maya, her buddies Parisa and Mason, and don't forget Shelly Bean's trusty little dog, Spike. He's always up to something. To purchase your copies, go to ShellyBeingTheSportsQueen.com and enter code LynxCoachReeve at checkout and save 15% off the cover price. Check out the new 5-pack, the Shelly Bean poster, become a member of the fan club, and much more. Again, ShellyBeingTheSportsQueen.com, enter code LynxCoachReeve. So the WNBA sets up benchmarks this year in terms of attendance, especially in terms of viewership. Where are we headed now?
Well, I hope that we're going to capitalize on the great season that we had. Like you said, many of the metrics were, trending upward, and there's a variety of ways to consume, the game. The partnership with YouTube, being on Twitter, as we know, the digital platform is allowing, more space. And I think we're capitalizing on those things. I think that it was a year that I think our league was talked about. It seems like more than ever in social media situations, in NBA players, talking about or interacting with WNBA players, recognizing their game. I think that probably everywhere, with the exception at the top, meaning at the NBA level, I think the narrative there isn't what it needs to be, to really capitalize. And I think that the interest is growing. Obviously, ESPN has been a winner with regard to beneficiary of ratings. Even though there are times you don't know exactly where you can find it on ESPN, or you may not be able to, you may not have ESPN News. But despite all of that, the interest is growing. Despite not getting more than 3 or 4% of the coverage, we're growing. And so to me, that speaks volumes. We're not given daily coverage, and we're not given subsidies, of taxpayers and buildings and that sort of thing. So we're growing. Women's sports in general are growing exponentially without, sort of the mainstream support. So think about when it happens, how it's going to boom. And, I think a lot about the history of sports leagues. David Barry, from the former writer for Forbes, is a sports economist. And so you learn a lot about, you forget that in the 50s and the 60s what the NBA was. And
the finals were tape delayed. They played at like midnight.
For a long time, all the way up until the end of the 80s that was happening.
And that was Bill Russell.
That's exactly
right.
Wilt
Chamberlain.
Yep. And the crowds that they played in front of were not the crowds that you see in some of the well-attended venues in the NBA today. And so understanding that the sports leagues take time to develop that affinity for a team, to be so passionate. College teams have that built in because colleges and universities have been around forever, and the rivalries and that sort of thing. The NBA has been around since the 50s, and so you see, or the NFL, you have Lions fans that, you don't know why you're a Lions fan, but you've been a Lions fan for life. It doesn't matter whether you win or you lose, you're a Lions fan because it's been there, because there's been a passionate owner that says, I'm passionate about the Detroit Lions in the NFL, and I'm going to do this. And so that's sort of the next step for the WNBA. We're only a little over 20 years into this thing. NFL in the 50s had to have a doubleheader with a high school for it to be interesting. And so that was however many years into the NFL. We talk about the NBA. It was in the 50s and 60s. They had to have the Globetrotters, to have interest. It wasn't until really in the 90s that the league started, from a business standpoint, doing better. So you're talking 40, 50 years of a league. And so we're just 20 years into this thing. What we need, to capitalize on this is to obviously our fan bases continue to grow, but it's not just about the fans per se. That is a very important element, but it is about decision makers that are choosing where to place their sponsorship dollars. Much like Greg Popovich said, I'm going to hire a woman. I'm going to take that bold step. And then people have followed. The same thing has to happen from a sponsorship dollar standpoint. You need a big company like a Mayo Clinic that has Mayo Clinic on our jerseys. We need people. We have how many Fortune 500 companies here in the Twin Cities? This should be an easy thing. The problem is right now that in women's sports, we're not the first thing thought of. But so it takes a little bit more work. And so we need people that are willing to put the resources into that work to enact that change. And we need it at the franchise level, and we need it at the league level. And I think we're going to see some of those changes at the league level, a greater commitment in that area. Obviously the league's, the spotlight was on, salaries and the CBA and that sort of thing. And all these things are tied together. But more than anything, what we need is, Adam Silver to be just as passionate about it as David Stern was. Adam Silver wrote the business plan for the WNBA. So that was 20 plus years ago. I think right now, with the absence of leadership on the WNBA side, with the departure of Lisa Borders, without a COO, that Adam Silver's had to get closer to the WNBA to kind of navigate this time, and I think that's a really good thing for us. I think he needs to get reconnected, and I see it as, if you look at it like an org chart, you have the NBA, underneath the NBA you have the G League, and you have the E League. Well, the WNBA to me has sort of been off to the side. They need to grab a hold of it and pull it under and really make it one of its entities, because whenever the NBA, the iconic brand of the NBA, gets behind something, whether it's their summer league, whether it's their G League, it is going to be successful. And if you do the same for the WNBA, they will see exactly the same result.
Let's get a final thought from Cheryl. Again, thank you to everybody who's listened all year. Thank you to Lori Ramsey of SuccessfulMarketingGroup.com, SuccessfulMarketingGroup.com. Check it out. And Shelly being the Sports Queen, ShellyBeingTheSportsQueen.com. Promo code Lynx Coach Reeve. Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to Brandon Morton. Final thought, anything you want?
Just looking forward to the change in the new year. There's something about January. I know, like for me, it's springtime, that you kind of get that extra energy. But January for us as WNBA coaches, kind of the true turning of the page from one season to the next.